Everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a little 8-game slate here on DraftKings for basketball. It's a pretty good little slate. We have a lot of injuries to look at today, so let's go and get into that. For the Cavaliers, we have Love and Leverett both questionable. For the Magic, Carter Jr. is questionable. Benchiro and Anthony are both out. For the Pacers, Nembhard is questionable and Duarte is out. For the Warriors, Klay Thompson is doubtful. For the Pelicans, Zion is probable and Murphy's questionable. For the Blazers, Lillard is out. For the Heat, Hero, Vincent, and Robinson are questionable, and Butler is out. For the Knicks, Robinson, Reddish, and Rose are all questionable. For the Thunder, Pokusevski, Mann, and Baisley are all out. For the Jazz, Conley is out. And for the Clippers, PGE13 is questionable, and Kennard is out. So we have a lot of injuries today, but it does lead us to some good options to play with. And so let's go ahead and get started with the players I do like today. We're going to start at the top with Josh Giddey here for Oklahoma City. He's going to have some upside with the guys out for Oklahoma City, and he's been playing pretty well down the stretch. I think he's a really solid play on the slate, and with those injuries, I just think he's got a good chance for a high upside game, especially in a plus matchup. Then we'll look at Jordan Poole, who will be my auto lock of the day if Klay Thompson is in fact ruled out. Now he should be ruled out because he doesn't play in back-to-backs, but we'll play that by ear still just the same. But if assuming the Jordan Poole starts, his price is just way too cheap for what he's been doing this year. when Klay Thompson's been out. Then we're gonna look at Jalen Suggs here for Orlando. Now he's another guy I like quite a bit here. He's been playing up some really good games, and his price point is still fair, and it hasn't come up a whole lot. It came up a little bit, but he's been pretty consistent, especially with the injuries that the Magic has. I didn't mean to put him in there. I'm sorry. Then I'm going to look at Emmanuel quickly. Now he's a fool's gold type of situation here because the Knicks will play people all over the map minutes-wise and get different amounts of shots. And as we can see his minutes in games, that he'll have 40-point games and he'll have 10-point games. And so he is very risky, but he is pretty cheap. And so if you're desperate for a cheap option, you could do worse than him today. Then Colin Sexton for Utah. He's in a good spot here, along with Jordan Clarkson. With Conley out, they're both going to get more run. And here's Clarkson for you for Utah. And then finally, we're going to look for guards. We're going to look at Shea Alexander, who has been on an absolute tear lately. And 5 of the last 7 games, he's been over 53 fantasy points. And 2 of those games, he had under 35. So we do have to be aware of those 2 bad games. But this is a nice plus matchup for him. Bunch of injuries for Oklahoma City, too. So he should get a plenty of run here. So then Lou Dort for Oklahoma City in the forwards. He's one of my top options here. He's been playing extremely well. And as long as this game doesn't get blown out, he should play around 30 minutes and have a good opportunity here. Then we're going to look at Malik Beasley for Utah. He's in a situation where he will hopefully get more minutes today and give him some upside. He's had some really big games, and so I expect him to continue that stretch while a lot of the other guys are out for them. Then we'll look at Jalen Williams for Oklahoma City. Now he's an interesting spot because he's had some really good games, but he's had a lot of really bad games too. And so it's really hard to gauge what kind of game he's going to get. But if you think he's going to get 30 minutes, then he's definitely somebody worth taking a look at. And then for centers, I don't have a lot of forwards. I'm sorry. There's just not a lot today that looks all that appetizing until we get more injury information. At center, we have 4 guys to look at. Jared Allen, he's my top center currently. He's had some really good upside games. And if Love is out again, then that will give him a lot of upside. Love is currently questionable. Rudy Gobert, he looks like an interesting spot here, if nothing else, because he's way too cheap. Obviously, he's had some bad games, but getting 33 fantasy points is something theoretically he should have no problem doing. And he really just hasn't had that big game where he's got a whole bunch of rebounds and stuff yet. And if he can do that, or if he can just get a double-double, then he pays off pretty well here. Then we're going to look at Bam Adebayo, who should be back from injury. But we're going to have to make sure to check on that just to be sure, because the Heat have really kind of screwed up with injuries the last few games. So anyhow, he is at $8,000 today, and he's a pretty good value for what he's been doing lately, especially with if Hero and other guys are out, he's going to get more run as a result. So you're going to have to take a look at that situation closer to lock. And then finally, last but not least, Al Horford. His price point is just flat out too cheap for what he's been doing lately. Obviously, it's not a price point where you're going to say, well, he's got a really good chance of 7 or 8x, but you can get a safe option here. He's finally started to play really well the last about 7 or 8 games, and I expect that to continue in this nice matchup. So with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below, and have a nice day, guys.